Welcome to my animal house. We're down here in the hide and I got another video for you. This is ball pythons handling and habits, some good and some bad. We'll go over kind of how to handle your ball python, when you should handle your ball python and that kind of thing. We'll go over all the ins and outs of it and my opinion on some of the situations of taking care of your ball python. So I just appreciate the fact that you chose this channel to help you along your way. So stick around to the end of the video. I do got a couple things I want to go over with you at the end. I think it's more crucial if I talk to you then about it than now. So we'll get on to this video and I hope you enjoy it. All right, let's go into little Miami's bin here. Oh, she's not really little. And there she is. She's looking up, ready to go. And when you get your ball python brand new, you put it in your, put it in its enclosure, regardless if you do tanks or tubs. After a couple days, and yes, I said a couple days, we'll get into that in a minute. I'll go over that a little bit more. But there's only you're gonna get two responses, basically. It's gonna either try to ignore you or it's gonna be ready. And is what I mean by ready, food ready is what I call it. People call it food aggressive. I don't really think it's aggression. I just think they're ready. If they get into a habit where the enclosure or the tub gets opened more times to get fed than it does to handle the snake, I think the snake just gets ready to be fed. So if you do have a snake that is ready and heads up and kind of looking around for some food, I suggest you try it's like a touch technique. I'm not exactly sure what they call it, but you can see her right now. But as soon as if you grab a snake hook, a paper towel roll, just anything that you can give a light touch, as soon as I do, she'll put her head down and she'll just go about now just trying to, she's not even curious about food no more. She's just going to go about her business. And she knows right now that I'm going to hold her. Which this girl, I've had her long enough. She doesn't really need this. As soon as I even touch her, she knows that there's no more food. It's just Dad gonna mess with me. So, I can go ahead and grab her. So with this technique, it's really good to, even if they don't really show any food readiness, try this technique anyway, just to where then if they do develop it later on, you can use this technique and it'll help you, it basically just snaps them out of their little food trance and then you can go ahead and grab them safely, or a lot safer. Anyway, so now that we do know how to do that, the best way to handle your ball python, especially if it has a little bit of size to it, is to try to give it 2 touch hold points, basically. So is what I do. I usually just grab it by the tail and then grab it here. So then you got 2 touch points, 1, 2, and then we got a hold. We got our 2 points here. Is the way I keep my 2 points when I'm messing with her and I need my other hand is I just kind of wrap around my forearm right here, and she'll usually just wrap her tail right around there, and then I can keep her kind of. Oh, she's acting all wacky. There we go. And just kind of keep her, and then she'll be able to play around 1, 2 points, sometimes 3. So we can get this closed. So yeah, once you have them, it's just always important, especially the bigger that your snake gets, it's going to be more important to make sure that you have those 2 points when you're holding your snake. So, and like I said, it's not that big a deal. I mean, if you go to grab them and it's by one hand or something, it's not going to hurt them, not going to kill them. I mean, but it could get agitating after a while. Just like if you were at the jungle gym and you jumped up on, grabbed that bar, you were hanging there for a while, after a little while, it's going to start to feel unpleasant. The longer you're up there, the more unpleasant it's going to feel. So, just like for them, and the bigger they get, especially because this girl's about 1,300 grams, just make sure if you have your 2 points at all times, then it makes it more pleasant for them and more pleasant for you, because then you can enjoy your animal more. So, and another point too is, when you're a beginner snake owner, especially with a bigger animal, if you do buy a bigger, more of an adult size animal, please don't try the whole around the neck thing and that thing to try to look cool. And it looks impressive. I always like, I have your snake around your neck. Oh, look, that guy's got a snake. It's always cool. But in the beginning, just to avoid that, because, if they're around your neck and like, say somebody comes into the room and the door kind of slams a little bit or something and they get tense, they're going to squeeze. They're going to tense up to try to hang on to make sure nothing happens to them. And that's going to feel like, oh, it's choking me. It's not choking you. It's just trying to hang on. It's going to be unpleasant for you if she gets startled or if they get startled. I always say she because this is a girl. This is Miami. She's a super pastel. And so, you don't want them to get startled nothing when you're around your neck. Once you know your animal more and you've had her for a while or handled them for a long time, then you can go ahead and, play with them however you want to, or handle them however, that makes you happy. But just in the beginning, kind of avoid it just so you don't have any mishaps in the beginning. The less mishaps you have in the beginning caring for reptiles, snakes, anything, the less mishaps, the more pleasant it makes it, and the more, that you're going to enjoy keeping your animals. All right, so I'm going to take a seat and we'll talk about how, how often and when and, that kind of thing of when you should hold your ball python and the habits and stuff you should get into when you are and when you're not. All right, now that I'm a little more comfortable, I want to go over a couple things that I went over earlier. I want to go over the fact of about the couple days that I talked about and the food readiness. My big thing about the food readiness is snakes, you know, they're not dumb animals. They're intelligent. Some more intelligent than others, of course. But they know what's going on. Like today is feed day. Like, you know, today's Wednesday, I feed on every Wednesday. They're gonna know today when I open up the tubs, they're gonna be ready. And it's not because they're food aggressive, I don't think. I think it's just because it's habit. They know what's going on. They know that it's going to be food day. So, you know, on that day, you know, I expect a little bit of, hey, what's going on, you know, because they know they're going to get fed. But any day outside of that, you know, even if they do look, as soon as you touch them, bang, it snaps them out of that. And the big thing is hold them more than you feed them. That's the biggest thing. I keep saying that all the time. Hold them more than you feed them. It like for the 2-day thing. If you get a ball python and let's say that you quarantine it or whatever, or put it in an aquarium or whatever for, let's say, 2 to 3 weeks, like they say, that's 2 to 3 meals that cage has been messed with or opened to eat. So that 4th week, when you're ready to hold your ball python and open that cage, it's going to be ready for food because it already thinks, you know, 3 weeks in a row it's got fed when the cage got opened. It's going to be food day again. So it's food ready. You know, it's not aggression, it's food ready. So, you know, it's like, my whole point is with the 2 days, after, you know, we get a ball python and you get it from the pet store, give it a couple days to settle in. Yeah, get its you know, its cage ready, its tank ready, or its tub. Give it a couple days to relax, and then interact with your ball python. You know, most of these snakes aren't established anyway, especially when you get them at the pet store and they're young. They've never had any habits, you know, other than just being tossed around. They don't know. So if you get them into your, you know, aquarium and your habitat and everything's all good, after a couple days, grab them out of there, play with them, especially if they're lurking around, looking, you know, got tongue flicks going, they're tasting the air and that kind of thing. Then interact with them. Enjoy your ball python. You know, it's just crazy how people wait 2 to 3 weeks. It's like these animals, they usually don't get into any kind of routine, like I said, from the breeders to the pet store to this and that. So after a couple of days, just as long as your ball python looks normal, I mean, and it should, there shouldn't be any, after a couple of days, should be moving around, seeing what's going on. You know, interact. Play with your ball python, enjoy it, get it into your routine and your habits, I think, as soon as you can. You know, if you're going to play with it 5 times or 3 times a week, play with it 3 times a week. You know, when you get it, just give it a couple days to relax, you know, to settle in and know what's going on. It's already kind of freaked out anyway. So, you know, in between, it's never really settled down. So you might as well, you know, even if you wait 3 weeks and then start handling it, it's got to go through the trauma of you handling it. So why wait the 3 weeks? Get it over with, and interact with your ball python, get it into your routine, and enjoy your critter. Look at that. Isn't she beautiful? All right. And like I said, and with the food readiness, like again, I can't say it enough times, play with them more times than you feed them. All right. Now we're going to talk about when you should handle your ball python, how many times, that kind of thing, and when you shouldn't handle your ball python. All right, now we're talking about when we should and shouldn't hold our ball pythons, and for the should part, we pretty much kind of go over most of that. It's as much as you possibly can. You know, in between the next couple is when you shouldn't hold your ball pythons. And the biggest thing is, like I said, other than the first couple days, give it a couple days to relax, and then, you know, interact with, not a lot, but just kind of a little bit, hold them a little bit, put them back each time you hold them a little bit. Goes along with the hold them more than you feed them thing. So when you feed your ball python, always, no matter what, for sure, 24 hours. 48 hours if you can, especially if you're a beginner ball python and it's a younger ball python, give it that 48 hours to make sure to get it some food digested, so there's no chance in regurgitation, because that's not good for your animal. So, you know, after you know your animal and you've had it and it's a little bit older and stuff, after you feed your animal, after 24 hours, if you had to move it to clean an enclosure or something, it's not that big a deal. But, you know, in the beginning, always wait that 24 hours at least. But like I said, and then, you know, to make sure that you always hold them more than you feed them, so then you don't get that food response. It's more of a, they're going to know that you're going to, you know, mess with them. But you always have that, you know, like on Wednesday, it's feed day. I'm always going to have a snake that's going to be ready to go on Wednesday. So, you know, you just have to know your animal. And like I said, there's always going to be an occasional just crazy animal that's just ready for the food all the time. Like, hey, where's the food? So, you know, it does happen. But for the most part, hold them more than you feed them, and it'll, you know, and then like I said, wait to 24 hours, 48 hours if you can. And then after that, enjoy them until their next meal. You know, and another thing to note on about handling, when you are setting up their enclosure, especially in tanks and tubs, it's not as bad because there's not as much going on. But if you set up your tank and you have all kinds of stuff in there and you can't get to the hides, remember, if you can't get to the hides and lift them up and you're waiting like, oh, as soon as my snake comes out, I'm going to hold it, it may not come out for a couple weeks. So make sure when you first get your ball python, make sure that the hides are accessible enough to where you can get them to where you can interact with your ball python. Because if you just sit around and wait for it to come out of that hide, it may be a couple weeks, so you may not be able to enjoy your animal as much. So, you know, when you are decorating, just kind of keep it in mind to make sure you're able to get the hides in and out without tearing up the whole, you know, aquarium and that kind of thing. So yeah, I hope these tips and tricks are going to help you along your way to make it, you know, because the more pleasant it is for you to keep your animal, the more you're going to enjoy it, the more you're going to want to do it more. So, all right. And then about the only other time that I would worry about, you know, other than the food and the period that you have to wait for that, the only other time is to be aware of like when they go into blue. You know, once your snake's going to get blue is when it's getting ready to shed. Their eyes will cloud up, and it's just releasing the skin from their eyes, you know, during the shed process. They'll go blue for a couple days, and then they'll clear up, and then a couple days after that they'll shed. So just, you know, when their eyes are really blue, if it's a new snake and you don't know it as much, you know, you might want to stay away from it for that little bit of time that their eyes are blue, because they're basically blind. Once you own your animal for a while and you know your animal, I can pick this snake up in full blue and she'll never, you know, never bite me. She doesn't hiss, none of that kind of stuff. So, you know, that's about the only times that I would suggest not playing with your ball python or handling it. So, you know, these habits are good to get into, and the habits that I talked about to not get into are just, you know, they're just going to help you keep your ball python healthier and just make it more fun for you to keep. So again, like I said, hold them more than you feed them, and you won't have any of them food issues, and you'll just enjoy your animal more and more. So if you like this kind of content and these kind of videos, please consider subscribing to the channel, smacking that notification bell to let you know when I'm making other videos. And please like this video, tell your friends. So make sure to stick around for the couple messages here at the end, and thanks for watching this video. All right, here we go. Just remember, if you follow those tips and tricks, your journey on keeping your ball python will be a pleasant experience. I just never want to restrict anybody from enjoying their ball python. So with these tips and tricks, you can maximize the time that you can spend with your snake. So now that we are here at the end of the video, I did say that I wanted to go over a couple things, you know, with you. And one of them is the sign back here. I do a live stream on Tuesdays, 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. There's a lot of, not a lot. It's a smaller stream. 10 to 15 people in there, but usually it's all breeders and animal keepers, reptile keepers. So if you have any questions about your snake, or even, you know, bearded dragons, geckos, just basic animals, any kind of questions or, you know, things that you need to know about your gecko and you can't find any information or something, come join the stream. Ask somebody in the stream. Between me and the other, there's breeders, there's veterinarians. We have just, you know, people that are just so knowledgeable about animals that attend the stream that you could ask a question, and one of us is either going to know or we'll find the answer for you, you know, or we'll try anyway our best to do so. So if you interested in that kind of thing, please join the stream, and you can enjoy, you know, just hanging out with a bunch of keepers and reptile people like yourself. And the last thing I want to say is, remember, you were searching for information. Don't stop here. You know, a lot of people won't say that. They'll say, oh, do this. Don't stop here at all. Keep searching. Take as much information from as many keepers as you possibly can. Take all that information, calculate everything that makes sense to you in the way that you want to keep your ball python, put it all together, and just, you know, become an amazing keeper. You know, don't stop here. Please keep searching. There's a lot of amazing keepers out there with a lot of amazing knowledge that I don't have and that I have learned from. So you should go check them out too. I'm not, you know, saying any specific names because there's so many of them you just can't. So like I said, just keep searching. So until next time, take care, stay wild in these crazy times, stay safe.